So what we're working on is the tutorials for There Is No Turning Back. At the moment I have 3 remaining. We're making it so that when you're stepping through these tutorials, you cannot interact with the fairy because the messages should just guide you. So let's go ahead and give this a try. And let's do this first tutorial. Okay, let's see if it works. And now she's no longer interactable anymore, which is perfect. Now there is one place that I need to make her interactable, which is on seen on my last map of tutorial 1. So back in here, when I look at this is my last map in tutorial 1, which is under my tutorial game manager, and I should have a on player map event, and here's my state. And when this is on my case, which is let me think about that. When you go to the next map, it's setting the state to the interact fairy home. Like that. And then all I want to do here is set my interactable to be true. Now let's try it again, and hopefully everything works as designed now. We can close this ticket and move on to the next one, which is tutorial 3, and that's for building and purchasing from the trainer. So for that tutorial, the map's going to start black and dark, and the fairy's going to tell you, hey, you need to go build a torch. She's going to let you build a torch, and then after you do that, you're going to push the torch towards her, and then when you interact with her, you're going to be doing the sales panel. Love those case statements, says Southern Cross. How are you doing? A lot of times those switch statements are done now with the class types. Okay, we'll just go through this really fast. I want to make sure that these panels aren't working, and they aren't, which is great. That's great. None of my panels are working. If I try to go to the next map, it should not let me. Okay, this one's for the power. And now she should be interactable, and she's not. So we want to do this up above. I've been looking into trying DOTs. ECS and the job system. Hard to find information on it. The job system is weird. I'm really used to running my own threads, so the Unity coroutines are what I use. The job system seems like it might help with some of the hiccups that we get on the UI sometimes when I'm doing web calls. Okay, let's go ahead and try it again. Good, none of this is working. I definitely just don't see any UI optimizations in the job system. Well, I don't think it's that. It's that when I make HTTP calls using a coroutine in Unity, sometimes I get like a little blip. You can see it when the game starts. Good, not interactable. And if I try to go this way, won't let me. Now I can interact, and they'll send me back home. Like that. I see you prefer coroutines. I just am used to using coroutines. I prefer running things asynchronously. So with .NET 4.5 on here, I should be able to wire up asynchronous calls. I just haven't looked into it because I want to finish this project up. Okay, let's go to the second tutorial here. Nicely done. Okay, here's the 6 different objects that we need to interact with. So there's a bed. One thing I wanted to fix was over here on my player, I should have something here called a sleep coroutine in my game manager. Here. And in here I want to have a new function, a new variable for is asleep. Because when I'm looking in my game manager to see if my player can move, and there aren't any one of them where the abilities are that it cannot move. So this is a character ability, not a player ability. So this should be a character ability. Why is this not giving me anything? Abilities. So in here, set can move here is true at the end. But do you have a status in here? So if I look at where this is being invoked from, you're just setting the state here. And then here you're saying that now your player can move. And if I look at the game state here, oh yeah, it's fine how it was. So like that. So I can either do this with a bool or a status, right? So if I look at a status here, I have a status effect to sleep. Where is this being used? You can create it. And this is being done nowhere. That's interesting. So in here, in my sleep routine for player, what's going on here? Here, this is my sleep effect. Am I doing anything with this? I'm just including it in events, but I'm never putting this in my status effects. Like that. Okay, this one needs to be a iBase. Well, you have this base status effect. But I don't want that one for here. And this has an iStatus effect on it. So this needs to be a status effect to sleep should have iStatus effect. The one that I'm creating is a sleep effect. So I want to have a var status effect sleep equals my global manager dot scriptable object service dot create status effect asleep for my sleep effect, and my turns remaining is turns to sleep. This is a sleep effect. The other one is an asleep effect. What's the difference there? Not much. So let's get rid of this one. And then back in here, I'm going to get rid of the asleep effect, which I don't even have. Okay. So this is a sleep effect. Sounds like you were doing bug hunting. Nope, I'm just at the end of the project, so I'm trying to implement a few things, but I need to make sure I put it in the right place. Status effect asleep. Is there a status effect sleep? Good. And then in here we're going to put my sleep effect, which is like that. Where is instance coming from? Okay, that's fine. This one wants a sleep effect which is a status effect sleep, which needs a sleep effect. There we go. And then we're going to add the status effect sleep to it here. Now, is there an add status effect function? No. Okay, good. And then down here, I want to do a var status. We can just get the same one, status effect sleep equals status effects dot of type status effect asleep. And we want the first one or default. And if my status effect sleep does not equal to null, then I want to do a status effects dot remove my status effect sleep. Okay. And so finally, in my UI script or a game manager, I have a function down here called canPlayerMove, and I want to put in here and there aren't any action types or status effects of type status effect sleep any. Okay, let's try it again. And we can get rid of this function. And this is static effect asleep. Okay, looks good. Let's give it another try. Go and run the tutorial. This second one. Okay, so we're going to go up here and sleep, and now sequence contains no elements, it says. Create status effect sleep. Here. This is where we're creating it. Sequence contains no elements. Create status effect asleep. So when we look at this, and then when I look at my status effects in here, I don't have one. So we're going to create a new status called status asleep. Which is a status. We're going to drag it onto the data set. like that. And now this is going to be called a status asleep, or just sleep. And then we'll call this a status engulfed. And we'll run it again. Looks like I got a typo there. I'll fix that in just a second. And this time when I go up and try to sleep, let me see. First, I shouldn't be able to interact with the fairy, and I can't. Second thing is I want to sleep and then do this a bunch of times, and now I can't move until it's been completed. So that works. I think everything is working right on this tutorial. Okay, that works great. Okay, the thing I wanted to change, and then I'm done with this ticket, is on my fairy tutorial, on my OK event here, I want to say, if my, we're going to first say var cast equals my map tutorial to interact of the map. And now if my cast dot objects to be interacted is greater than 1, then we want this. Otherwise, I want to do this one, which is we're going to bring this resource up, as well as the base type. And this is your dialog message, which is this one. So we're going to add in another one here, which is one object left. We're going to do that as a resource. And then I'm going to add that here into my init. And so back in the tutorial, and then this one we're going to do is a there is only one object remaining. So this is a fairy dot, it's just a tutorial interact one object left dialog. There is more than one item remaining. Well, easy enough. And so now in the resources, underneath tutorial, we're going to bring in this one, which is a Walk up to an object and press the interact button or step on to see what happens. There is one object left. And so this is going to be an O2 tutorial explain one object left. And then I can bring that up here on my ferry. Like that. Okay, I know that that's all done, so now I can go over here into my source tree. We're going to commit this out as a no turning back 779. My time is 20 minutes. My comment is completed tutorials 1 and 2. And we will commit that out. Now we're going to go jump over to my development branch. And we're going to merge this in. And on my board, come on. So here on my board, I want to add in one thing here, which is a new subtask. Which is going to be add in achievements for tutorials. And we're going to create one more, which is a add in rewards for achievements. And both of these we're going to assign to me. Okay, this 779 we finished. We can bring it over to be completed. The next one is this 780, and we'll move it into this fixed version. And I'm going to go ahead and do a branch here on no turning back 780. And we're going to push this branch out. Okay, so now we're ready to start the next tutorial. So here we can move these into 2. And there we go. And so now, the first thing that I want to do is we're going to take a look at the map that I'm using for this, which is under my tutorial manager. I have a map called a world tutorial, and then I have this map here. So this one was for the third map, so let's make a copy of this. And I'm going to say that this is map tutorial 3, and it's going to be called build. Like that. We don't really need anything special on this at the moment. But we do want my number blocking objects in the map, number of enemies in the map, number of items in the map, and survivors to be 0. Just like that. And this is called build with a D. Okay. So in my level tutorial here, we're doing this in the desert, which is fine. This is inside of my level, so here we're setting the darkness. So in this case, I want to say that the darkness here should be is dark is true. And then my darkness shade is going to be black. The size of this map should be held in Tutorial Manager. And this is all fine. That's fine. Here, we want to do a go to world tutorial. And this is going to be called build map 3. Let's go ahead and add an error in here so we can come back easily. In this case, we're going to have this as a purchasing and building. It's going to be this map 3. Like that. Okay. So back in here, when we create this map 2, this is going to be for this is for this is for tutorial 3, and this is building and purchasing. So the size of this map, we want to make it like 16 by, let's make it a 12 by 12 or a 15 by 15. And this is going to be called a map. And we're creating the ferry here on the map at, we'll put the ferry this time at 6, 3. And then we're adding this and applying my maps. And this is building map 1. Build map, and we'll just say like that. And what you need to pass in here is your world tutorial and your UI tutorial. When I look at this tutorial manager, when I make the new game here, I do have a new player position here. And I'm okay with that being 3-3 on this map as well. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add in some resources. So here, we need to make a new folder called O3 build and purchase tutorial. And I'm going to add this one in here as a O3 tutorial explain _0. And this is going to say, wow, this is a dark map. It sure is hard to see in here. And then we're going to use another one. And I'm going to make a new folder here called new so that I can track them. And we're going to add in a resource here, which is basic, and it's going to say O3 tutorial explain _1. And it's going to say, this is the button to your build panel. Let's build a torch to help us see. Then I'm going to create a new resource in here, basic, called O3 explain tutorial explain _2. And we're going to say, try it now. Click the build button to bring up your build panel. Okay, and both of these are going to be resources. And then we're going to move those into my resource database, which is here. Now we need to have the dialogues for that. So for the first one here, we need to make a folder called O3 build and purchase tutorial. And in this, I'm going to have a new dialog OK. And it's going to be O3 tutorial _OO OK. Just O OK. And then the second one is a animation one, which is this. And then this next one is a dialog action, which is called a O3 tutorial O2 action. Okay, all three of these need to be a dialog. This first one needs to link to the second one, and it has this resource on it. This second one has this resource on it, and it links to this one. And it needs to have an animation type of arrow build panel, arrow build button. Okay, and then this last one is a dialog which has this one, and we're going to say that this is a open build panel. Which is that. Okay, the next thing we need to do is on the ferry, we need to include those new dialogues here as a tutorial build start dialog. Which is a tutorial build start dialog. And then in your Fairy tutorial, when you do your next dialog event, you want to say my dialog last is equal to my tutorial build start dialog. If I look back at this one, and look for all my references, I have one here, here, and here. So it should be done now. So now my Fairy should have a dialog OK3, and we can give it a try. Yeah, that's better. Doesn't look like my backend's running. That's fine. It'll bug out here and tell me I need to go offline. Here we go, purchasing and building. Wow, this is dark map. It sure is hard to see in here. Less is your build button in your build panel. Let's build a torch to help us see. Wonderful. This is perfect. So what I want to do in this case is a new property on here called public bool can player move equals true. Because here we're going to say if my d dot can player move, then you want to do this. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is add in that arrow. So I'm going to go over here into the tutorial, and we'll add in a red arrow to the right here. And this is a arrow build panel container. And this is going to be an arrow right red. This is an arrow 3A. In here, I can move this thing over to be about 290. Which looks like this. Okay. So now on my UI canvas for my tutorial script, I want to have a public animator in here called my arrow build panel button. And then here, when we set the arrows, when my case is a build button, if my arrow build panel.gameObject.activeSelf is not active. Then we want to do arrow build panel button.gameObject.setActive to true. And we want to have a break. And then I need to add this thing in here as .gameObject.setActive to false. And on here we'll assign the prefab. Which keyboard switches do I have? It's a light strike keyboard by Bloody, and it uses UV light to like detect when the key gets pressed. So it's just a spring. Like that. Wrong one. Arrow right red. Perfect. Now it's letting me move, which it shouldn't have because this one shouldn't let the player move. And the action that needs to happen is the build panel needs to open. So here we have something called toggle build panel. Okay, and then here I want to detect when the build panel is activated. So I should have something here called an on-panel event. Here. And we want to have another one on here called a public enum. And I'm going to say that this is a panel. We're going to change this to be a panel type. And we're going to change this to be a panel event type, which is going to be an open and a close. So here we want to say if my e.panel event type is equal to close. ferry.interact. So we want to say on my tutorial script, let's get rid of this again. Because what I want to do is on my panel script here, we should have a public virtual override, and it should be called a toggle build panel. And now what I want to do is I want to check my state, which is if my build panel dot game object dot active self and then I want to interact with the ferry. So we're going to do a var ferry equals worlds.map current.grid objects of type ferry tutorial first or default. If my ferry does not equal to null and the build panel is active and the ferry.ferry state is equal to, and in this one we have open build panel. Then we're going to advance the next dialog with the ferry, which is a ferry.interact. Like that. Okay, let's give it a try. Now we can scrap this thing and this one and then format the document. Okay, so we need to have a dialog now. So here under resources, tutorial, we're going to have one which is a new resource called, so just a basic one called O3 tutorial explain _3. And this is going to be a resource. It's going to say, great job. These are the items I currently have for sale. Okay, we'll make a new one here, which says, each item has a unique purpose but select carefully because you can only get one. And then we're going to say a new resource here, and we're going to say heed caution, all items have a price. And we're going to say, and with resources so scarce, is that right? Nope. SCARCE. It's best to be thoughtful and careful with your purchases. Oh, this is the wrong panel. This is the... Okay, so we need these later. So I'm going to move these things to be 6. So we'll say 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So what we're going to say is a new resource here, and we're going to say O3 tutorial explain 3, and this one's going to say great job. This is your build panel. And now we can have a new one, which is going to say O3 tutorial explain 4, and it's going to say each item you can build has a different use. And we're going to add a new resource, and this is going to be O3 tutorial explain underscore 5, and we're going to say and a cost. So make sure to build wisely. We're going to make a new resource here, which is going to say, now select the torch and click build to create a torch at your position and illuminate the room. And we're making a new resource, and it's going to say O3 tutorial explain underscore 8. Oh, nice. There you are. That is much easier to see. We're going to make a new resource here, and it's going to say O3 tutorial explain underscore 8, 9. And it's going to say push the torch over closer to me. Push the torch closer to me by walking into the side of it. Push the torch in any direction. By walking up we'll just leave it like that. And then we're going to say O3 tutorial explain 10. Hey, not Nick Dev, how are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. And here we're going to say great job. You can reposition built objects as you wish. And then we can say O3 tutorial explain underscore 11, and we can say and I will sell you new buildable object recipes for a price. And now it's going to say Now, walk over and talk to me and take a look at what items I have for sale. Okay, we're going to put this one as the 13th one. And then a 14th one. 15th one. 16th one. And then we're going to add another one in here, which is going to be a items have a number of uses until they were gone, except for, we'll make a new one here called 03 tutorial explain underscore 18, and we're going to say except for the buildable object recipes I sell, those are permanent. And then we're going to say 03 tutorial explain underscore 19. And we're going to say, here is a free item. Select the light wand and click purchase to attain and equip it. And then we're going to have another one in here, which is going to say that's much better, isn't it? And then we can say I will always offer you a light wand if you like. And the other items you should try and find the ones that are the best fit for you. And that's it. That's it for this tutorial. So then we're going to say 03 tutorial explain underscore 22. And we're going to say that we're going to say here, if you purchase an item with a number of uses, for example, these bombs, your interact button will change to the item you have, and when you click it, one of the item will activate. Okay, now we're going to say 03 tutorial explain underscore 24, and we're going to say some items have multiple uses. It's best to experiment and find which work best for you. And then we're going to say 03 tutorial explain 25. And we're going to say this concludes the building and purchasing tutorial. Well done. Okay, we're going to select all of these and turn these into resources. And then I want to put these on my database here. Okay. Now we need to actually set these things up. So this next one, it's going to be your build panel. So this is a dialog OK called O3 tutorial _ O3 OK. That's going to be this one. And this is a dialog. The next one is a each item shown here you can build, and each item has a different use. That's going to be a dialog OK called O3 tutorial O4 OK. Like that. And this one's a dialog. And now this next one is I'm going to change this one to be like this, and then like this, and then we'll bring this one up here like that, and then this one will be the fourth one. And then we're going to have another one, which is O5 OK animum. Bring this up like that. Like that. Now we need to change these dialog animation types. So we're going to have a arrow buildable item and then an arrow buildable item cost. Okay, I think we're ready to give this a try. I want to put a breakpoint on my toggle build panel here. Okay. So I'm not getting my build panel. So the reason for that is if I look at my UI canvas for my arrows character power with my build button, it's not set to anything. So in my UI tutorial, I want to say if my player.map.getType is equal to a type of, we're going to say this is a map tutorial 3 build C, and now what you're going to do is this, but only if your state, if your fairy does not equal to null, then we want to do fairy dot and my fairy.state is equal to open build panel, then we want to do a fairy.interact in the moment after we toggle the build panel. Okay. And now, hey, Smack in the Box. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Thank you so much for the support. If you haven't, make sure you check out our Discord, discord.pixelhorsestudios.com. Okay, so in here now, I want to assign that button which is in here. And we're going to put this toggle build panel. Now, while I'm in here, I don't think it would hurt to look at this. And then in my prefabs, I should have a buildable item, which I can put here. And then what I want to do is I want to have one of these arrows and I'm going to say that this is a arrow buildable item container. I'm going to change this to be a arrow do I want a green one? Yeah. And we're going to move this thing here. Okay. And this is going to be called an arrow right green. And then we're going to duplicate this one again. And this is my arrow buildable item cost container, so we don't need this. We can just duplicate this one. And then I'm going to say arrow right yellow cost. And then I'm going to move this one down here. When I look at my buildable items here, when you set that panel, currency portrait. So that would be a buildable objects And here's your supply, which is a lemon, and you want to use this apple, which is $2.45. Like that. Okay. The next thing I want to do is look at this. And I need to, in my UI here, have a public animator called arrow buildable item, and then a animator called arrow buildable item cost. Arrow buildable item dot game object dot set active to false, and then the same thing again for the cost. Okay. When you set your arrows, this one here is going to be a case buildable item, and then a case buildable item cost. This is my arrow buildable item, and this is my arrow buildable item cost. Okay. And this goes buildable item cost. Let's try it out. Okay, we're going to go to the third one. Okay, it's not letting me do this, and it's still letting me move. I mean, it should be right here. So let's go ahead and attach it and try it again. Interesting. That fell through. Okay. I'm going to the third one. Okay, there it is. It fired. My map is the wrong type. Oh. My bad. Now it should be fixed. Okay, it didn't display it, but it fired correctly. Build panel.gameObject.active. Let's try it again. Sorry about that. I'm trying just to get it to loop on itself so it stays in place. Okay. Go here, check out my 3 tutorials. Okay, what's my fairy state? It says none here. Okay, now my fairy state is open build panel. We set it active. It is active. Okay, so it worked. So, interesting. One thing I noticed here is when I look at my prefab for a buildable blocked item, my frame should be only 2 off. Also on can player move, all right, let's try it one more time. So it was that interaction that was causing the problem. Which was where did it go? Tutorial manager. No, it was in this one. And now we're going to see what happens when we hit this fairy interaction point and why it's turning off. because you're doing this next state thing. Okay, response. Is it in Fairy tutorial? It might be. Here, in your next dialog events, we also want to include arrow buildable item, arrow buildable item cost. And that's in the UI tutorial script. And here, when you turn off your arrows, I want to say if my player.map is a map tutorial 3 build. So if it's not that, oh no, if it is this, dot get type is not equal to this type of and your build panel is active, then you want to set it to inactive. And also down here, we want to say build panel.buttons active. We'll put this as true. Okay, and then well, we're going to put this as false. And then when you're on your Fairy tutorial, you can do up here a arrow buildable item cost. These two. And we want to say that my arrows here are like that. And then I also want to say that my build panel, so it's a UI tutorial.build panel dot game object dot set active to be true. And you also want to do UI.build panel dot set buttons active to be false. Now, if we have another dialog type, which is going to be a build object, then here we'll do a case build object. And there's no arrows, but we're going to set the objects equal to true. And let's give that a try. Okay, we're going to go here, start the tutorial. This is your build panel. Each item here and each has a different use and a cost. So everything is working correctly. And now the buttons are working great too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to do a commit. And I'm going to say no turning back 780. And my time was 60 minutes and my comment is going to be tutorial 3 is 50% completed. And we're going to commit that out and push that out. As for me, I'm out of time. I'll be back though in a couple of hours. So let me actually update this. And then, yeah, if you have any questions or Discord's a great place, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. I also put these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thanks very much for staying with me. And then I'll be back at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today. So thanks again, guys. I will see you in just a couple of hours. Bye.